Welcome back to Between the Zones. This is going to be What's New, Episode 2.
Thank you guys so much for the support on the last episode. As always, you can find the playlist linked in the description, as well as our link tree, which has everything you need to know about us. Before this video starts, we want to let you guys know that you just go ahead and comment, subscribe, and do everything like the video up, and turn those post notifications on. You can do that. Just so you can hear when we're posting. You're going to be here first to see us, and just get the full experience with us. So, as we want to start this off, I want to ask you, Grayson, how you going? How's this been?
It's been pretty good. As Will was saying, I'm really appreciative of all the support we got on the last video. We are loving what we're doing right now. We're having the best time we've ever had recording these podcasts. They may not be huge, but it's definitely fun for us. A couple quick things real quick. I want to address the jerseys of the day. I got the Ja Morant jersey. Later we will be talking about the awards going on in the NBA season. Personally, Ja Morant is my pick for the Rookie of the Year, even though I'm a New Orleans Pelicans fan. We'll talk about that later.
And I have Kevin Garnett because I'm a huge Timberwolves fan.
Yep, we'll see that again.
You'll see me with a lot of Timberwolves jerseys on.
One other thing I want to point out is that we actually have a different setup to where now you guys will get to see Connor, our friend, and we're going to cut over to that real quick. Connor, if you want to say a couple things.
Yeah. Alright, we'll bring it back.
So that's Connor. He's going to be helping us out with stats anytime we need a number check. We're going to send you guys over to him. He's also going to keep us updated on any news that might come out as we're recording the podcast, because we love to get that stuff as soon as it's coming out.
ASAP.
If you want to just get started, we can check right here. The first subject we've got to talk about today is that the first round of the NBA playoffs is wrapping up, and we have one more game tonight, which is the Rockets versus Thunder. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I actually didn't expect the Thunder to pull out another game. I expected the Rockets to wipe, as we said last podcast. We just thought, the Rockets didn't have that upper edge that they could have gained without Russell Westbrook being back. But now he has returned for that game. And, we saw him make some errors. He made some oopsies in the final minutes of the fourth quarter. Sorry, just careless mistakes. I feel like if he would have been there at the start, then maybe this Rockets team would already be ahead and just have steamrolled them. But now he's going to be playing this next game, but it just didn't look good in that first game.
I definitely agree with Will, what he was saying. If Russ was able to be there in this game 1, game 2 of the series, maybe they could have figured out their chemistry a little bit. Maybe they could have figured out who's their primary ball handler at the end of a game. Because it definitely came down on those last 2 possessions. Rush, first of all, on the first possession, completely missed on an air ball. And that's not something you want out of that guy taking your last shot. In the second possession, he rushed it way too much. He made a horrible pass to Robert Covington, who couldn't reel in the ball. Not Covington's fault at all. So I think the Rockets really have to figure that out, because Russ is a great player, but is he that guy you want holding the ball at the end of the game? Just talking about that a little bit, you want to give your prediction on who you think is going to win the series tonight?
Oh, that's actually a good thought. So I haven't really given much thought to this yet, but I'm going to get on the spot here. I think the Thunder are going to win. Just because, they've had this momentum coming in that they could have gained at the start, but now they're kind of trucking along, getting these wins. With Russ back not doing good, if he has a night, it could be some trouble, but like they've been playing so far, like they've been playing pretty good. I would love to see them take the game. And it's just going to be pretty unpredictable, I think, of a game.
Yeah.
So it might come down to the final seconds, and it'll be a fun game to watch, just for certain.
We definitely feel that this is going to be probably one of the most entertaining games of the NBA playoffs. Just like last night, we had the Denver Nuggets and Utah Jazz game, which, if for anybody that didn't see that, the final score was 80-78. Really good defensive game. Crazy intense. A great first round 7-game matchup. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen with this Thunder Rockets game.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. But I definitely believe Chris Paul has his legacy on this game, as in, if he's able to take his team, who wasn't projected to even make the playoffs, they were rebuilding. They took an aging veteran, a whole bunch of young guys. It was kind of an off year for them. If he's able to take them and beat the Houston Rockets, a team that should have been an easy top 2, top 3 seed and had championship aspirations, and beat them, I think that's huge for his legacy. I think this means everything for him. I think this means something to Russ and Harden, but I don't think they have to drive the same OKC gritty underdog Thunder has.
Yeah. Again, it'll be a great match to watch. I mean, it's just gonna be so unpredictable. I just really toss up for me. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. My pick is that I'm gonna say that Chris Paul makes something big happen in clutch time like he did last game. I think the Thunder pull it out. If the Rockets do, I see that too. This game could really go either way, and we'll just have to wait and see. If you want to jump into talking about the second round matchups, I think the first one we can actually talk about because we can't talk about the Lakers versus whoever yet.
It would be.
But we can talk about Denver versus the Clippers.
Now, this one's gonna be interesting. If the Clippers are playing like they did those last couple of games where they just had everything together, everyone's firing on all cylinders. If PG delivers, then I feel like they can beat the Nuggets. But the Nuggets aren't going to go down without a fight. It'll be an interesting matchup to say the least.
Definitely. I mean, I think the biggest story in this matchup, well, I guess you could say there's two. The first story would be, is Paul George going to be pandemic P and shoot 13%, just as we saw in those first couple games of the Dallas series, really struggled? Or is he going to be playoff P and he's going to hit some clutch shots, really show up for him, as he did in those last two games, and they're going to dominate teams? Another big storyline is Jamal Murray went from a good player to a star in this series. I'm going to give Connor a little bit of time, but Connor, if you could pull up some of those stats from Jamal Murray, it was just crazy to see. He dropped a 50-point game, might have been multiple, I'm just not positive on that right now, and he really became the guy on that team. Jokic was still a great player, but it came into the clutch time, he was the one taking the shot. He was the one making the plays. So I'd love to see a young Jamal Murray go up against, two top perimeter defenders in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and just see what happens with this matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I think people also underestimate that when you get to that second round, your family members are going to come. So Jamal Murray's going to have a big thing there with his girlfriend.
Oh my god, dude! I didn't even realize.
We're not going to talk about that all the way through, but if you guys want to look that up,
if you know, you know.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Jamal Murray definitely had a reason to make it to the second round.
He definitely has the best Instagram stories.
Yeah. We're going to send it over to Connor real quick if he can hit us with some of those stats.
Yeah, so Jamal Murray, as they were talking about, he's been going off in the bubble. He's had two 50-point games. He's averaging around, I think, 39 points or 38 points, something like that in the bubble total.
Wow.
And he's not doing bad on assists either. He's not giving up his teammates to get his points. He's still getting, at least 5, everywhere from 6 to 4 to 7 to 8, whatever. So he's not just, he's not playing selfish ball. He's also still keeping his assists up and helping the team out when he can.
Awesome. Thanks, Connor. I hope you guys enjoy that we're able to do that, because we'd love to send it over to Connor more. As you see, we tried to give him a little bit of a setup this time. We love having that kind of an atmosphere. Yeah, and so if you want to hop into the next subject real quick.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the NBA awards and our thoughts about those awards. So we can start with, I think the first one that came out was
Coach of the Year. So Coach of the Year was Nick Nurse of the Raptors, and I think that is easily the best pick.
Yeah, I think that was my perfect pick as well. Just, after losing Kawhi, still being able to make this team work as well as they did, it's just great coaching. He's like the Bill Belichick of the NBA.
He really is. He has taken players who, 2 years ago, who knew Pascal Siakam's name?
No one.
Who knew he was going to be the best player on a championship contender, a 2 seed? So it's just the thought of that. Like, you lose a top 3 player in the league in Kawhi Leonard after winning the championship, and you come back next year, and you're still a 2 seed. You're still contending with mediocre guys. Not to say that, Kyle Lowry is a great player. Gasol is a very good player. Pascal Siakam is an amazing player. Not to say these aren't good players, but there are no superstars on that team.
No.
Where you look at almost every other team in the playoffs right now, and they have a guy. And I think it's crazy to see that Nick Nurse could take that team with teamwork, great ball movement, and just turn them into a championship contender.
Indeed.
I think another guy that could have held a chance of taking it was the Grizzlies coach. I'm not sure of his name right now. We'll send you over to Connor in just 2 seconds. I mean, he did a great job of, again, kind of like OKC, taking a team that was not supposed to be good at all and took them almost to the playoffs. If I think that in my opinion, if the Grizzlies would have been able to make the playoffs and contest a playoff series, then they easily could have had an argument for their coach.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
We'll send you over to Connor real quick.
The Grizzlies head coach name is Taylor Jenkins, and it's actually his first year as the head coach. He served as assistant for the past 6 years for Atlanta.
So, even just hearing that, a first-year head coach turning a rebuilding team into a playoff contender, it's a great thing to see.
Yep.
Next award?
Defensive Player of the Year went to Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
But, wow. I honestly think Anthony Davis should have won. I mean, that's just me. I bet a lot of Giannis fans would say otherwise, that he's really good defensively. But I think it came down to, like, the only stat he was leading in was defensive rebounds. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll give you to Connor in just a second, but out of what we know, it was kind of close on all the stat lines, and it really, in my opinion, a lot of these awards turn into a popularity contest. And I think a lot of people slept on Anthony Davis going to the Lakers, playing with LeBron. They looked at the help he was able to get and kind of took away from his stats, but he's still putting up decent stats on a great team. We'll send you over to Connor real quick to get those numbers.
So that's for the Defensive Player of the Year winner. Giannis averaged 11.4 defensive rebounds this season, along with 1 even steal and block. The debatable runner-up, on the other hand, Anthony Davis, averaged 7 even defensive rebounds and 1.5 steals and 2.3 blocks. So he really outperformed Giannis in 2 of the 3 major defensive categories.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think a big reason that Giannis may have won this award was probably that, first of all, Giannis is playing on a team that doesn't have any other great interior defenders, so he really is running that sole job, where Anthony Davis has LeBron, who can play as strong as a big. He has JaVale McGee. He has Dwight Howard, other guys who can play that interior role. Another thing, Giannis has that better ability, at least in my opinion, to cover more positions. He can play the 3. He can play the 2. He can guard those positions. He's long. He's a little faster. It's just those advantages that probably helped him through.
Agreed.
You want to move on to the next award?
Yeah, let's move on to the next award. I think it was Most Improved Player, which went to Brandon Ingram.
Yes. This was just announced yesterday, I believe. Yeah. And for me, being a Pelicans fan, this was a great thing to see. I love that Brandon Ingram got this award because he really did turn himself from people were saying he was a bust, really not performing up to that 2nd overall pick that he was taken at, and then turning into like a bona fide star, a questionable superstar in a year or 2. He really showed up. He became the guy that can hit shots for that team, especially with Zion out. It was a great thing to see. And I feel bad for the other players that were in it because, in my opinion, Bam Adebayo definitely had a great season, really stepped up his game. I think Devontae Graham should have been, instead of Luka, one of the nominees for the Most Improved Player award. But this is how things went.
Yeah. Well, for Devontae Graham's case, you got to take into account how he's getting more minutes, while Brandon Ingram's getting the same amount of minutes. And, you just got to take that into account when you look at this. So, but I still don't know why Luka was chosen. I guess because he's been averaging more. I don't know.
Yeah. We can go ahead and give our picks real quick. We're going to try to hurry up this next little part just so we can get to the end because we want to not slow things down. I want to make sure you guys are getting everything at the end of this podcast. Yeah. But we can give our picks for the next one would be 6th Man of the Year.
Yeah.
So the 6th Man of the Year, in my opinion, would go to Lou Williams. Yeah. Just because he was a guy, I mean, it sounds just like a generic pick because he really is in contention for this every year. But he came off the bench. He was able to be that offensive spark plug for the Clippers that they really needed. Of course, Montrezl Harrell was up for the same award on the same team, which is amusing to me because they can't both be the 6th man, but it's just how things worked out. It really is just the best bench player. You have anything you want to say?
I also agree with Lou Williams. I think he's just been performing really great this year, as always. He does off the bench.
Yeah. We can just move into the MVP. Yeah. That's the last award.
MVP. So out of Giannis, Harden, and LeBron James, I think I'm going to go with LeBron James. I just think he's been playing really good this season. And, I don't think Giannis should win back-to-back, even though he has been playing really well. It's just LeBron's been playing on this all-star team. He's got Davis. He's got all these other good players, and he's still able to shine as much as he does. Playing point guard, mind you, and just averaging the most assists in the league as well. Just being that facilitator that he is, he just shows so much signs of just being the best, the GOAT in his area, in his field. You know, he just played multiple positions. I just think he's really good.
Yeah. I think Will definitely has a great point where people can look at LeBron's stats and say he's not putting up the points that you would expect out of the best player in the league. But that's because he's leading the league in assists, and he is one of the most efficient players in that category too. He has the ability to run an offense from the point, completely change the way the defense has to guard him, and open up opportunities for his teammates. He could play the 3 if he wanted to, and he could just cut in and just beat everybody in the post or beat them off the drive, and he could score 32, 33 points, in my opinion, per game late into his career, and he could be up there for the scoring title every year. But that takes a toll on your body, and he's playing something that is equally as good for his team in just being the facilitator, offensive-minded piece. I think that's a great point, but I really just have to look at it and say, in my opinion, I would pick Giannis Antetokounmpo to win the MVP award this year. I don't believe he should have had Defensive Player of the Year, but I do believe he earned the MVP award. He has been the solo guy. What the MVP award comes down to is if you are doing it based off of who is the most valuable player to their team or who is the best player overall. I think Giannis is the most valuable player to his team. He does more for the Bucks than LeBron does for the Lakers, than Harden does for the Rockets. I think the Rockets could run their scheme without Harden, be a decent team. I think the Lakers could play just as well through their scheme with Rajon Rondo being the facilitator. Of course, not to the same level at all, because Rajon Rondo is in no way LeBron James. But I think the impact that Giannis applies to his team is just much greater.
Yeah, that's a solid point, Grayson. But yeah, we have our differences, but we both provide some good points.
If you want to move on real quick, we're going to switch sports real quick into the NFL. As for anybody that doesn't know, the NFL starts in 8 days of the day we're recording this, September 10th.
September 10th. I'm getting ready for it.
It is a Thursday night game. I know we are both huge NFL fans. It's been a little weird. It felt like it's been gone for so long this offseason, and I've kind of lost contact. But I'm super excited for it to come back. The first game is going to be a Thursday night football game on the 10th. The Houston Texans will be visiting the Kansas City Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champions.
Yep.
I think it'll be a fun game. If the teams are anything like last year, I think the Chiefs easily walk out of this, especially with the Texans making arguably the worst trade we've seen in the last 10 years. We'll talk about that more later. Yeah. It's just disappointing to see. I know Connor's over there behind the camera shaking his head in shame. It was not a smart choice by Bill O'Brien, the Texans head coach, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, that first game, I think the Chiefs are going to win, too. I just don't see the Texans performing that well. I mean, yeah, not on offense and defense. It's all right, but it's not going to contain that fiery offense. That's not a word. That's I don't know.
It works.
Explosive offense. There we go for the Chiefs.
Will has some problems sometimes.
Yeah, I have mental blocks.
He doubts himself.
I fell as a kid and never recovered.
How many times?
Multiple times.
He lost count. He can't count that high
Never
anymore.
learned to count.
Yeah, it's okay, Will. We've got one more thing we want to cover in the NFL.
Yeah. We'll cover this pretty quickly.
Which is the free agents. There are still a large amount of free agents that are sitting out there that could really help some of these contending teams that I think aren't getting the recognition they need to. The first pick we can talk about is Jadeveon Clowney, who in his first couple of years, his very first year was questionable to be as picked as high as he was, but then he did show up as a great top 5 talent for his draft class. He really did turn into the good player that you wanted him to be. And then he kind of got cocky, and he looked for that big contract. He started chasing it. He hasn't found it yet, and he is not playing at the level where I think he deserves $20 million per year. He's still sitting out there. He's gotten offers from the Browns for $15 million, declined them multiple times. in my opinion, I think he's going to end up going to the Ravens. They have the cap space for him. They need the defensive presence on the edge. I think it's just one more thing to push them over the edge. I don't think they'll be as effective on offense this year, but it'd be great to see them add a good, strong defensive end to their team.
Yeah, I also agree with the Ravens big. But you also wonder, being how cocky he is, if he even gets a contract at all with anyone after declining that Browns one. So we'll have to see how it plays out. We'll keep you guys updated.
I think he's definitely going to have to take that pay cut. I don't think any team will give him $20 million per year. I don't think he deserves that money, even though he is a great player. I think 15 was a fair offer from the Browns. We'll see where he goes, though. Welcome back, guys. Sorry we had to take that cut. We're actually a little low on card space, to be truthful with you. So we're going to do our last little segment and wrap this up for today. We want to give you guys a hot take. In our opinion, just something that we can argue down in the comments. We want to talk to you guys about this. We want to hear your opinions. We're going to comment back. We want to have a conversation.
Debate us in the comments.
Our hot take for this episode is going to be the next NFL season, the Arizona Cardinals perform much better than the Houston Texans. In our opinion, after what was arguably the worst trade ever, as we said before, DeAndre Hopkins was basically traded for the Cardinals for a half-empty bag of party-sized Lay's barbecue chips.
Nah, I think it was like a quarter and maybe like a grape soda. Not even the good Fanta.
Oh, actually, according to my quick research, it was actually a mood ring, so they could tell when Deshaun Watson needs a hug.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
That makes more sense. Thanks for Connor for finding that super insightful information. But like we said before, argue us down below, and I think we're going to wrap this episode up.
Yeah, so make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, and you can check our link tree in the description below. Has everything you need to know about us. But I think it's been Between the Zones, episode 2 of What's New.
All right. We'll see you.
Peace.
Peace.